Hi, I'm Jerry Moots, Executive Coach. In this video, I'm going to share with you a technique that you can use to stop living a reactionary life. Now, living a reactionary life is reacting to all the things that trigger you throughout your day. This can lead to the feeling that you're just running from one fire to the next, which leads to the feeling that there's just never enough time. And this can lead to feelings of frustration, overwhelm, and even depression. Living a reactionary life is also giving up one of your most precious gifts, the gift of choice. If you have something inside you that's being triggered by another person or by some external experience, not only are you giving up choice, but you're clouding your perspective and reinforcing an association in your subconscious mind that's been created by the meaning that you have given a past experience. And through this association, the perspective that you have towards that person or that experience is now a trigger for those same associated thoughts and feelings. Now, before I get to the actual technique, it's important that we understand some very basic but important fundamentals about our subconscious mind. Because our subconscious is where the association is and where the triggers are coming from. Our subconscious mind is the automatic part of our brain. And it doesn't judge and it doesn't choose. It doesn't get to choose between positive and negative or right or wrong. But it does have to provide and protect. And it does so automatically and perfectly. Another thing to understand about our subconscious mind is that it is influenced by and responds to these three main things. First is emotion. Second, repetition. Third, and most importantly, is action. Now, keeping in mind that our subconscious mind doesn't judge, but it responds to emotion, if we're feeling emotion of any kind, our subconscious mind has no choice but to provide more for us to feel that emotion about. So, as an example, let's say something happens or somebody does something or says something and it triggers frustration in me. Well, my mind not judging this says, frustration? Great. Here's more to feel frustrated about. And I get more frustrated, which sends the message back to my subconscious that that was correct. So it gives me even more and more. And this can go back and forth and build and build. And if I'm not careful, this can mess with my whole day. Some people will allow it to mess with their entire week. But the main problem with this is as you get caught up in this emotion, your perspective gets very narrow and it gets clouded by this emotion. So now you've got a narrow, clouded perspective. You're not seeing anything close to reality anymore. Not a good time to be making choices and decisions. And chances are anything that comes out of your mouth won't be all that great either. But my greatest fear is that as I have a narrow, clouded perspective, here comes the perfect opportunity knocking at my door, and I don't even know it. Or I have this great idea, and I dismiss it. So the goal is to be able to maintain a clear perspective, which allows you to see a much bigger picture. Because the bigger picture you can see, the more aware you are. And that's the key, awareness. You see, the thing about triggers is there's no real space, if you will, between trigger and reaction. It's immediate. And I personally don't know anyone who actually chooses to feel frustrated. That's not choice. That's just simply a reaction. what we want to do is create a space where choice exists. And awareness creates that space. Or in other words, awareness allows choice. Now, the first part of this technique is to become very consciously aware of your negative thoughts and your triggers, with the goal of being able to recognize and catch them in the moment before the emotion takes hold. Obviously, easier said than done. But as you start paying attention, you'll find that most of your negative thoughts and triggers are very repetitive, which makes them much easier to recognize in the moment. So, let's say you recognize the negative thought. The very moment that you have that awareness, that space is created. And now, instead of that automatic reaction, you get to choose. And you choose to not feed it. And this is important. We call this starve what you don't want and feed what you do want. In fact, this is actually one of the few absolute guarantees in life. What you feed, you will get more of. The second part of this technique is once you recognize the negative thought, you choose to shift your thinking. And there's a variety of ways of doing this. My personal favorite that I like doing is when I recognize the negative thought or trigger, I think to myself, what is it that I do want? Because as soon as I ask myself that question, my mind has to go there. And when my mind goes there, what happens to the negative thought or the trigger? Yeah, it's gone. I've starved it. And every time you starve a trigger, it loses energy and gets weaker and weaker. And the next time it comes back, which it will for a while, but it will come back weaker and is even easier to shift until there's no energy left and it's no longer a trigger. So, as I think to myself, wait a minute, what is it that I do want? What I want could be as simple as, I just want to stay clear. I want to maintain my focus. Maybe you have some positive trigger words that you can use to shift your focus, your thinking. Because now I'm feeding what I want, what does my mind have to provide more of? Yeah, what I want, right? Okay. So let's say that you're able to remember to do this 3-4 times today, and 5, 6, 7 times tomorrow, because it does get easier, right? And you do this over and over and over and over and over and over. What happens anytime you do something this repetitively? Yeah, it becomes automatic. It becomes natural. And so now, instead of reaction being your automatic, your new automatic is choice. Now, I need to make a distinction here, because you don't want to resist. You don't want to try to not feel the emotion. You don't want to try to not have the thought, because resisting is feeding. And so you don't want to squash it. You don't want to resist it in any way. Yeah, it might you probably get rid of it in the moment, but when it comes back, it's going to come back even stronger. So we're not resisting, we're simply making a choice to shift our thinking. And by doing this repetitively, it becomes our new automatic. Now this leads to the wonderful opportunity to be able to start living your life on purpose. Now obviously there's more to living life on purpose than just this, but this is the foundation that you can build from. So be very consistent with this. Okay, I'll leave you with one of my favorite sayings. If you're persistent, you'll get it. But if you're consistent, you'll keep it. Be consistent. And thanks for watching.